Hey, welcome back, everyone. All right, so we are right now talking about this idea of competitive strategy options, right? Are we going to be a cost leader? Are we going to be a differentiator? Are we going to be a best cost provider? What do these things really mean? So we've talked a little bit about this concept of the low cost provider, that cost leadership type of competitive strategy. But there's also another, main half to that model that we were talking a little bit about that focuses on this idea we see right here about being a differentiator. And while I do call it either like a broad or narrow differentiator in that model, I did add one more thing that you'll see here to the title at the top, and that is something that I think is really important for us to keep in mind here, and that is value adding. Okay, let's keep this idea in mind as we try to conceptualize this idea about being a differentiator, because value added is really what I believe this is all about. The strategic aim of, let's say, starting from the broad sense of being a broad differentiation strategy is we want to offer a unique product attribute or attributes, right? That a wide range of buyers are going to find appealing and find are worth paying for. Now, that's the big kicker here, right? Because some of the time we get into the slump in entrepreneurship too about like, let's create something new for the hell of it. Let's just create something new because it's new and somebody else doesn't do it. But however, if that new thing, if that differentiator we're providing people isn't any value to them, isn't something that will sway their decision making with their buying in any sort of way and doesn't really show any type of legitimate value added, what kind of good, what kind of good is a differentiation like that? We have to remember that all these kinds of decisions are trying to sway people's purchasing decisions, right? The low cost, we can understand that. If we're the cheapest, we're really always going to have a market of people interested in the cheapest possible product, people who are price sensitive. But when it comes to differentiation and offering something unique, it's got to be something that is value adding, that people think is valuable and worth paying for. A product or a service with a unique, appealing attribute can actually be our competitive advantage, right, as a firm, right? Because using that as our competitive advantage, we can command a premium price for something. We can increase our unit sales potentially. We can create buyer loyalty because it's the only place people get something like that. Absolutely, right? So our two steps with being a value-added differentiator in this sense is we have to focus, like it says here, on the value drivers that will effectively create differentiation and add value for our buyers. So the value drivers, right? These things that will impact people's purchasing decisions. And our second step of this process is we just need to use those drivers to try to create some sort of unique product or service attributes with a lot of high buyer appeal. So which ones we think are going to most strongly impact the way people make decisions about what to purchase. So we can enhance differentiation a lot of ways. Again, I'm just going to provide you some of these lists. You can make sure and review them yourselves so that we don't have to, exhaust a ton of time on them here in this video. But, it can be all sorts of things like it says here. A lot of companies will emphasize new product research and development, work on new product information or innovation, what people really want, improving the type of selection people have from their products, broadening that in that sense, or, pursuing all sorts of other opportunities that we have listed on here if you want to go through and try to review some of these. However, the big thing is we got to be careful some of the time as being differentiators, right? When we're trying to differentiate our product, there's a lot of things to be excited about, but there's also a lot of things that we could erroneously do that might not necessarily lead to helping our product or service the way that we're hoping to, in creating that competitive advantage for the uniqueness of our product that we've got going on here. There's a lot of things we can do. Like some of the time, just in our quest to do it, we can overspend a ton trying to differentiate it, and we've just eroded our profitability away, right? We've spent way too much money in the product and development stages of this thing, and now we've thrown so much money into it, we can't possibly be profitable moving forward. Or we may be adding too many features that if we just try to do too many things differently, like some of our efforts may get lost along the way, right? It's just like, oh wow, there's so many different things. It's kind of like you see some product that's you're just like, this seems to try to do way too many things. Now I don't even actually know what its value to me actually is. We can definitely create products and services that do that sometimes, in which case, if we would have kept it simpler and the few things that it differentiates, the uniqueness it provided, if we would have left it at that, we probably would have been okay. But we just try to keep pushing it and pushing it. So it's a trap we can fall into, right? So, and the last one, as somebody who teaches entrepreneurship a lot too, charging too high of a premium price, and this is a big problem, not staying realistic with how much something is actually worth for its value, as opposed to what we personally think. We get in this trap a lot. It's a difficult thing. We just have to continue to make sure that we do a lot of market research to understand exactly how much people are willing and able to pay for it, so that we are, I guess, we're kind of, so that we're living in the same reality as the people we're providing these things for, because those things can be a major pitfall for us as we're trying to differentiate our item and then, talking ourselves into believing that it's worth something far more than it really is. So just some quick things we want to make sure that we really remember if we're going to be choosing some sort of differentiation, like competitive strategy approach, is our first principle we want to keep in mind: differentiating features that work well are always going to be a magnet for imitators, meaning that as soon as you figure out a way to differentiate yourself, you can be damn sure somebody else is on your heels already trying to implement that same type of uniqueness in their product attribute or service. They're always going to be trying to like ride your coattails, figure out what you did, and provide that same thing to people because they see the success you're having, and it's still unique. Even if it's a second person, if they can drive the cost down or do something a little different, they're going to try to eat away at your customer base by offering something similar. So we're in heavy fire as somebody who differentiates an awful lot of the time. Our uniqueness and our innovation usually doesn't last long. So we've already kind of talked about the second principle about being careful about how much we charge for things, or over differentiating things to the point where people don't even know what kind of value we provide. And then this last principle we want to keep in mind: small differences amongst our products may not always be really important to our end users, right? We want to have strong differentiators that clearly express like the uniqueness, the newness, the value very strongly. If it's only like superficial, minute differences between our product and competitors, it might not even be a characteristic important enough to people to sway their purchasing decisions. And they may be like, I don't really understand why that's different enough. And this is why we want to keep in mind, name of the game for our differentiators are all about value added. We have to make sure that that differentiation is providing some sort of value people care about, and that is going to sway decision making in the purchasing process. So then finally, we were talking about it from a high level there, from this broad differentiation status, just keeping in mind, again, as we shift to looking at the focused differentiation strategy, it's not any different in its principle, except for now we're just differentiating for a specific targeted smaller niche like market group, right? We may try to take all of the same types of approaches that we have from a differentiation standpoint, but we're just focusing in on a buyer segment that's going to look for something special, something specialized in those product attributes or the capabilities that our product and service provides people, and just focuses on that group and standing apart for them, so that we can really serve this focused niche group and provide them something that either is not available widely already, or that we just do better than one of our competitors, because that's really what differentiation is all about. How are we going to offer something unique or some product attribute or capability others do not offer, that is value adding, something that actually affects people's purchasing decisions?